Hello and welcome to From Upside Down to Right Side Up, Tips for the Transition. I'm Maria Tomas Keegan, your host. This is my continuing series of conversations with strong, resilient women who have inspiring stories of transformation to share with us, and they are brave enough to come here and tell it to us. I'd like to introduce you to my guest today, Dr. Nadia Brown. Her story is about leaving one business behind while choosing to focus on building another. And you might be surprised at what came up for her as she made that shift. We call this episode Permission Granted. Hello, Dr. Nadia.
Hi, Maria.
Welcome to the show. I'm so excited for you to share your story because I know a lot of women entrepreneurs who feel stuck in a business they created, but is no longer aligned with what they want now. So I would love it if you would share your story with us.
Oh my gosh, thank you. I often call myself a reluctant entrepreneur. So I never thought that I would actually be an entrepreneur. And so when I left my corporate job and I started my business, you know, you leave in corporate and moving into a business, you're like, wait, what just happened? And I found myself on this journey of becoming a leadership coach. And I talked about, you know, how my big vision was that I would be this amazing coach and I would have a thriving business from the comfort of my own home in sweatpants and t-shirt. Like, yeah, that was it. Yoga pants, t-shirt, that was the life. But it didn't go that way. I started speaking. I'd written a book. I started doing a lot of other things in my business that it did include coaching. And I was on this journey. And it was a good journey. There were obviously ups and downs, as any entrepreneur will tell you about. But for the most part, I'd learned a lot. I was growing. I was thriving. And then one day I realized that, you know, this isn't it. And this was after several years of building a business, of really becoming known, you know, all the things they teach you to do, become known in your niche and be very focused. And I realized that I don't think I really want to do this anymore. And I fought so hard to become a coach and to really embrace that, to build a thriving coaching business. And I had the business coaches that helped me do that and the support. But I realized this isn't really where I want to be. And so in 2017, I hired my now council, is what I call them, which is a group of 3 ladies who are peers and friends at this point. I adore them. And I was just like, something needs to shift. And one of the things that I did in that transition was they'd send over some questions. It was maybe 4 or 5 questions about what I wanted to create, what I felt that might look like. And I sat down one Saturday morning and they were just like, don't censor yourself. So, you know, there are things that you don't say sometimes because you put the censor on. And they were just like, just sit down and really answer these questions and just be honest. And for the first time, probably in a long time, if ever, I admitted that what I was building wasn't what I wanted to build. I was just like, you know, I want to build something that it will one day no longer be solely reliant on me. I want to build something that will create jobs, you know, that will create other people the opportunity to grow. And it was kind of freaky. It was just like, wait, what did I just say out of my mouth? What does that mean? So I made this shift and we launched a sales agency. So I work with entrepreneurs in sales and training their sales teams. Some clients hire us to do their sales, all of their sales for them. So they outsource that to us. The team is growing. I now have team members, helping with that vision. So it's coming to pass. And I think one of the things, Maria, that really kind of shocked me through this process was the sadness. It was the grief, that period of grief I went through with letting go of my coaching clients who I adored, who I was really excited about helping them take the leap. I had an event called Take the Leap, helping women move from corporate into starting their own businesses. I had a coaching group called Tandem. We're going to do this together. I was really excited about that. And to have to reach out and say, you know what, I'm switching gears. I'm letting this go. I'm trusting that whatever this new thing is going to work. It was a very interesting process.
Wow.
And also the process of becoming someone different, of growing as an individual, of really going from kind of teaching leadership to kind of having to live it out now. So I don't think my journey is done yet. I think that's one of the cool things. I'm still in that process of growing, of morphing, of really understanding what it is that I want to create. And I don't necessarily have a roadmap, if you will. So there isn't like this whole system that I can copy and duplicate and just say, do this. So there's lots of, trial and error. One of the big things I gave myself permission to do was to make mistakes, was to just go out there and try things. And it's okay if you screw it up. It's okay if you don't get it right. That took a lot of pressure off of me, especially in the beginning. Even now, it's one of those things I was like, I think I just need to keep that. I don't think it's time to let that go. So there is definitely part of this process. And it's been part of my journey as I've shifted from running a coaching business to now building a sales agency.
You touched on so many really good things, Dr. Nadia, and this is why we call this episode "Permission Granted," isn't it? What you just said is that you took some of the pressure off yourself to be perfect, to know exactly what it is you're supposed to be doing, and to allow some of that to flow as you were, and none of our journeys are ever over. and thank the good Lord for that. We get to do different things if we choose to do that. I love that you gave up one baby to birth another. It is it's a scary thing to do that. And you touched on some of the emotions that you were feeling, and I'd love for you to dive deeper into that piece of it in our next segment. Would you do that with us?
Absolutely.
Perfect. So hello, Dr. Nadia. Thanks for being with us today.
Hi, Maria.
I love that you talked about granting yourself permission to make a different choice, regardless of the outside pressure you may have felt to stay the course. You had this dream, you built this thriving coaching practice, and what are you thinking? I'm sure people were saying. So, what were some of the emotions that you had to go through and overcome so you could be fully present for your new venture?
Oh my gosh. I mentioned grief. That was one that honestly surprised me, because you think about, this is a new exciting adventure. So there's excitement, there's anticipation, there's, all those exciting feelings about it. There's the newness of it. There's a little bit of nerves, like, will this really work? But then grief, that was one that really shocked me. And I remember just sitting there like, why do I feel so sad about this exciting new thing? And I realized that a lot of my identity, a lot of who I felt I was, a lot of what I was known for from other people was this one person, and now I'm shifting to another. So then there's that fear of not only will it work, but how will I be received? How will I be perceived for making such a drastic, in some people's eyes, move? And so those were a lot of the roller coaster of emotions that, that feel like I'm still on in some instances, as I'm making this transition.
That's so interesting that I talk about roller coaster rides all the time when we talk about emotions, the ebb and the flow, and what you were going through was is kind of encased in excitement, but inside of that, excitement for what was to come, and the new opportunity, and the new dream, and the new vision, and all of the steps forward that you were taking around that. But then for the inside there was that sadness and grief. Mm-hmm. Tell us how you actually adapted to those feelings so that you could embrace that excitement.
One part was, here goes that permission thing again. I gave myself permission to grieve. I took some time off during that transition, and I didn't try to force the work. Taking time during the day to just be, to sit outside in nature, to just allow myself to feel. Because I think sometimes, at least I know I'm guilty of it, is I don't want to deal with the not so great feelings. I just want to jump on and embrace this excitement. But the reality was there was this grief there. There was this sense of loss. There was that sense of, I've worked really hard to build this. And now I'm letting it go, and I'm willingly letting it go. And, and then you have the outside people that are like, what are you doing? Don't do that. You worked so hard to get brand recognition and all this kind of stuff. And now you're like, whoop, we're done with that. So a big piece of that was to just give myself permission to go through that process. And then also having people in my close circle that I could talk to about it, who wouldn't judge me for feeling that way, and would still support me in my decision to make this change.
Beautiful. Two really, really powerful ideas there. Giving yourself permission to feel the feelings, because when we don't do that, I believe what happens is we stuff them down, right? We replace them, or we think we're replacing them with excitement or whatever the new feelings are that are more uplifting. And what we don't realize is that at some point in the future, if we haven't dealt with it, it's going to come up, whether you like it or not. It's going to come up. And it's going to come up probably at the most inopportune time. And it's going to derail something that it doesn't have to derail. Mm-hmm. So I love what you said there. And I believe that when we allow those emotions, however that is, for you, it was just taking breaks and going to sit in nature and just allowing yourself to be, it's just so important. And the whole concept of granting yourself permission is, and then the second part is surrounding yourself with people who have got your back.
Yeah.
And who will be honest with you too, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I had people, because my natural tendency is to work. To just hit the ground running. Where there are a lot of things that need to get done when you're, and some of that too is, as a business owner, there's money to be made. The bills don't stop coming because you're having an emotional moment. There's decisions to be made, so I'm looking at cash flow, I'm looking at numbers, I'm looking at all these different things. And a part of me was like, I don't have time for this, I do not have time for this. And one of the people on my council was like, Nadia, you need to stop. You just need to stop it. You need to stop working. You need to create some white space on your calendar and just be. And that was one of the hardest things that I am still learning to do, is to just stop, to just be, to just feel, and to just go through that process. So I'm doing more journaling now to just really to allow myself to get those feelings out of my head. So I don't, like you said, end up stuffing them somewhere for them to explode later. So it's really important to have those people who are not afraid, who love you enough to look past how you might respond because I don't always, I'm never like, oh yeah, that's a great idea, I need to go sit down. I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. And my counselor's like, yeah, whatever, you need to do it, and we love you enough to be able to tell you that, and to also hold you accountable to that and support you through that process, which is really important.
Yeah, I agree with you. And you mentioned one of the ways that you help to get the thoughts out of your head, the grief and probably some fear and whatever else was going on in that beautiful head of yours, by journaling. And I know some people who I often mention that I do a lot of writing myself. It's very cathartic. And a lot of people say, but I don't write. I can't journal. I can't sit quietly enough. And I just like to challenge that notion, so that just sit down with a pad of paper for 5 minutes and write how you're feeling right now.
Yeah.
I feel sad. Answer the question, why? What is it that's making you feel sad? And then be done. And then put it aside and pick it up the next day. It's really, you can start with such small steps, and what you'll have is a record, right, that you've written down, that you could look back at later and see where you were and see where you are now, and notice the difference. Be aware of that.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you, Dr. Nadia. I am inspired by your strength and your perseverance. In our next segment, we want to hear more about what you took away from this shift in your business and what might help others who are thinking about doing something similar. So these are the golden nuggets of wisdom. You've already shared a few of them with us already. We want more. Okay?
Okay.
All right. So everyone stay tuned. Dr. Nadia, hello.
Hello.
Hello. You've talked about granting yourself permission to grieve, to fail, and to be courageous, among other things. I wonder if you would now share with us some more of your wisdom that we might take away with us today and be able to implement on our own journeys. Would you do
my gosh. Oh, there's so many lessons. So I will try to keep it short. I think one of the biggest lessons that I've learned in this journey was having my counsel, having a circle of women who come alongside to really help, like you mentioned, birth this new baby, and birth a baby that I frankly was like, I don't even know. We don't know what this is, like, how do we create this? So it was really important to have that safety to just be, but then also that group to just kind of help move me forward. I like the mixture of my counsel. So I have one person on my counsel, while they're very diverse in what they do. And there are some similarities. I love that I have someone that's really focused on my mental, emotional, spiritual part of me, because that's a big piece. I have someone that's focused on the business strategy. That's, and that's probably my most comfortable part. Having a former career as an engineer is like, oh yes, I could get down with strategy and points and steps and checklists. And then having someone to really help me with the words. How do you put all this into what you're doing or what you're creating? Where are the words for that? And having that as a collective. And one of the big pieces about that I really enjoy is they work together. So I'm not feeling like one person is leading me, telling me to go in one direction and someone else telling, like, there's this unity that we all work together to really create. So I encourage everyone to create a council, to find one, because it's really important to your growth.
That is such a brilliant idea. I like to call it my personal board of directors. Mm-hmm. But you're so right, and the fact that they work together, it's like your brain trust, right?
Yes,
they work together with your best interests at heart.
Yes.
That is such a brilliant idea. I really appreciate your sharing that. And how often do you meet with these? I'm assuming they're women. Are they women?
They
Or
are women.
okay. I
I
don't know
meet
why I
with them
assumed that, but I had a
right?
feeling.
I meet with them at least once a month. And we talk about what's happening, what's working, what's not. We look at the numbers, so we really go deep. And we do things like have a quarterly finance meeting. So it's not just, there are lots of different pieces, but as I mentioned, there's also the emotional part. How are you feeling emotionally about these things that are going on? Because even when things are going well, there's still emotions that come up. And if you're not careful, they'll trip you up.
Yeah, you bet. You're so right about that. We talked about that before, right? If we stuff them down and if we ignore them, they will come back and bite us on the backside.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. All right. So that's a brilliant tip. Form your council.
Yeah.
Give us another one.
Another big piece for me has been the power of extreme focus. And so in 2018, I pretty much had just one offer. And I know, we talk about multiple streams and all these different things, but it just got down to focusing on one thing. But it allowed me to quickly work through things that didn't work well and to also just reach some amazing accomplishments in terms of how fast I was able to generate revenue and support clients and those sorts of things. And I attribute a lot of that to just having extreme focus. And not being distracted by squirrels. So I see the squirrels, I see the shiny objects, but I have support to be like, nope, that's not what we're doing right now. We'll table that for the future. And that has really been massive about helping just create momentum after, making such a drastic shift.
That's, again, a brilliant point that you make. And I am this year, I have learned that focus and stop that shiny object syndrome stuff. And I understand what you're saying about that. When we focus and having a counsel to help keep us there, right? It's the people who have our backs are helping us to focus, right? So those go in tandem, don't they?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They totally do.
Yeah. Having people to keep you accountable for what you said you wanted, right? And helping to guide you down that path so that you're not straying too far off course. Yeah. Two fabulous tips for us. Do you have another?
One other I would share is avoiding the comparison trap. I think, right? I see your face like, oh my gosh. It's so true though.
It is true. It is so true.
It is not, I have not found it to be easy. And I think, there's so many things that are going on, so many people that you may look up to or respect or want to emulate. But it's difficult to not, like you said, or you mentioned veering, so, and it's the shiny objects. And so it's like, or comparing where you are now to where they are. And it's been really important for me to not only focus on what I'm doing in my business, but to not make those comparisons. And they range from how I look, how I talk, how I dress, how I show up online, to how I run my business. So that has been huge to stay away from the trap of comparison.
I'll bet that's a hard one. I know it's a hard one. I'm sure you feel what I feel because there's so much out there as solopreneurs, and in your case, not solo anymore.
Right.
But we have so much opportunity to see other people and what they are doing and thinking, maybe I should go do that.
Yep.
Or being coached to do something and not taking the time to figure out whether it is in your zone of focus.
Yeah.
Right? that you said you wanted. You want to focus. So, and I do this myself. So I've created an umbrella. Underneath my umbrella, this is what I want to do. Anything that falls outside that is a no. And it makes it easier to say no, but every once in a while I see something or I hear about something or someone comes at me with an idea, and I really have to stop myself and say, that's maybe good for them, but it's not right for me right now.
Right.
Yeah. So 3 great things. Have your counsel, keep your focus, and stop comparing yourself and where you are today in all of the facets of our lives, right? Just stop comparing. Because you know what? At the end of the day, no one is like us, right?
No one. Yeah.
No one. No one is like us. And we get to do this unique thing. And that's what will attract others to us, because it's how we do it.
It's totally. It's like our secret sauce. We want to toss our secret sauce out, our uniqueness, to blend in. It's like, no, don't do that.
Right. Our secret sauce. I love the way you put that. Yeah. Dr. Nadia, I am sure that there are going to be some people who are going to want to connect with you. So please tell us, what is the best way for them to do that?
One of the ways to do that is on our website at thedoyenagency.com. That's thedoyenagency.com. And I'm also on Instagram, sometimes on Twitter, and on Facebook at I am Dr. Nadia. And that's I am Dr. Nadia.
That's terrific. Okay, I'm sure that there are going to be a lot of people who seek you out because you've got some brilliance to share here. I have these conversations with women like you, Dr. Nadia, so we can inspire others. And almost every time, I'm the first one to be inspired. So thank you so much for being here.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for having me.
And thank you all for watching Permission Granted with Dr. Nadia Brown. This series of conversations is inspired by my latest book, Upside Down to Right Side Up, Turning Transition into Triumph. My book, the articles I write, and these conversations are intended to share stories from the heart and life strategies that can help others. I invite you to share them with the women in your lives so none of us will ever have to feel like we are alone. Many of us have gone through similar experiences, and we're here to help. I believe it's our time to thrive. Will you join me on that ride? Till next time, I'm Maria Tomas Keegan.